After my dad's final birthday flowers arrived, my stepmom told me I'm no longer family. This morning, I received the last birthday flowers my dad will ever send me. He died 5 years ago from cancer, but he prepaid a florist so I'd get sunflowers, my favorite, every single year on my birthday. Today, I turned 21, and these are the last ones. I thought that was going to be the hardest part of today. I was wrong. Because 3 hours later, my stepmom told me I was no longer welcome at what used to be my family home. And that's when I realized my dad hadn't just left me flowers. He'd left me something much more valuable. He'd left me the truth about who people really are when you can't give them anything anymore. This is the story of how I lost my family twice, and how I fought to get back what was mine. ACT 1. The Inheritance of Love. Let me take you back 5 years. I was 16 when my dad, David Carter, lost his battle with pancreatic cancer. He was 48 years old, a high school history teacher who made $52,000 a year and loved every single day of it. The kind of man who remembered every student's name, even decades later. The kind of dad who helped me with my math homework even though he taught history, spending hours on YouTube learning algebra just so he could explain it to me. My dad was diagnosed in March of my sophomore year. Stage 4. The doctors gave him 6 months. He made it 11. And in those 11 months, he did something I didn't find out about until my 17th birthday, 4 months after he died. He went to a local florist called Sunshine Blooms on Main Street, too weak to drive by that point, so he had his best friend Tom take him, and he sat down with the owner, Mrs. Chen, who'd known our family for years. He pulled out his credit card, and he prepaid for 5 years of birthday flowers. Sunflowers. 1 bouquet, delivered every August 14th, from age 17 to 21. Mrs. Chen told me this story when I went to thank her after the first delivery. She said my dad had cried when he placed the order. He told her, "I won't be there to see my little girl become a woman, but I want her to know I'm still thinking about her. Every single year." The card always said the same thing, in his handwriting that Mrs. Chen had carefully preserved and printed. "Sunshine for my sunshine. Love never ends." He knew he wouldn't be there for my high school graduation. He knew he'd miss my first day of college, my first heartbreak, my 21st birthday. So he made sure a piece of him always would be there. That's the kind of man my father was. But sunflowers weren't the only thing my dad left behind. He also left a life insurance policy. $340,000. It sounds like a fortune, right? But you have to understand, my dad had been paying into that policy since I was born. Every month, $200 he could barely afford because he wanted to make sure that if anything happened to him, I'd be okay. I'd be able to go to college. I'd be able to build a life. He left it all to me in a trust, managed by my stepmom, Linda, until I turned 25. The way it was structured, Linda would distribute money for my education, my living expenses, anything I needed. And when I turned 25, whatever was left would become mine, free and clear. My dad trusted her. He trusted her to take care of his daughter the way he would have. And for the first 2 years after he died, she did. Linda had been in my life since I was 12. My biological mom left when I was 8, just walked out one day and never came back. Sent me a birthday card once from Arizona, and that was it. My dad raised me alone for 4 years until he met Linda at a parent-teacher conference. She had a daughter from a previous marriage who was 3 years older than me, already in college by the time they got married. Linda was nice. That's the word I'd use. Nice. Not warm, not maternal, but nice. She made sure I had clean clothes and dinner on the table. She came to my school plays. She wasn't my mom, but she was there, and my dad loved her. That was enough for me. When my dad got sick, Linda was the one who drove him to chemotherapy appointments. She was the one who held the bucket when he got sick. She took a leave of absence from her real estate job to take care of him full-time. I watched her do all of this, and I thought, this is love. This is what commitment looks like. The night my dad died, Linda held me while I sobbed. She whispered, "I'm still here. You're not alone, I promise." I believed her. Linda met Richard Donovan 14 months after my dad died. I was 17, finishing up my junior year of high school. She told me about him one night over dinner. Spaghetti. My dad's recipe that neither of us could quite get right. I met someone, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. His name is Richard. He's an investment banker. He's very kind. I think you'll like him. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to be happy for her. My dad had been gone for over a year. She deserved to move on to be happy. But another part of me, the part that was still a grieving teenager, felt like she was erasing him, like she was replacing him. Okay, I said. When do I meet him? This weekend. He's taking us to dinner, somewhere nice. Richard showed up that Saturday in a silver Porsche. He was tall, handsome in that generic businessman way, with perfect teeth and a firm handshake. He wore a suit to a casual dinner. He called me sport, even though I'd never played a sport in my life and he'd known me for exactly 30 seconds. Your mother tells me you're quite the scholar, he said over appetizers at a steakhouse that made me uncomfortable with how expensive it was. She's not my mother, I said quietly, and I'm okay in school. Linda's face tightened. Richard just laughed. Feisty, I like that. I didn't like him, but Linda seemed lighter around him. She laughed more. She wore makeup again, so I kept my mouth shut. They got married 4 months later, right before my 18th birthday, right before I left for college. It was a small ceremony at City Hall. Richard's parents weren't there. Linda said they were traveling in Europe. My dad's friends weren't invited. It was just me, Linda, Richard, and Richard's business partner as a witness. Linda sold our house, the 3-bedroom ranch where I'd grown up, where my dad had died in the master bedroom, and moved into Richard's place. A big modern house in the suburbs, all glass and chrome, nothing like the warm, cluttered home I'd known. You'll have your own room for when you visit, Linda assured me. We're renovating one of the guest rooms just for you. But when I came home for Thanksgiving my freshman year, my room was barely decorated. White walls, a bed, a desk. None of my childhood things, none of my pictures. Linda said they were in storage, but she'd get them out soon. She never did. That first year, Linda was good about the trust money. She paid my tuition at the state university where I was studying nursing, $8,000 a semester. She sent me $1,200 a month for rent and expenses. She paid my car insurance. When my laptop died, she replaced it without me even asking. Your dad wanted you taken care of, she'd say. That's what we're doing. But I started noticing things. Small things at first. Linda's new jewelry. The way she and Richard suddenly took 3 vacations that year, Cabo, New York, the Bahamas. The brand new BMW she started driving. Richard's doing very well, she'd explain when I asked. We're comfortable. I pushed down the uneasy feeling in my stomach. Linda had been a successful real estate agent before my dad got sick. Maybe she'd gone back to work. Maybe Richard really was doing that well. It wasn't my business. My sophomore year, the payments started coming late. Just a few days at first, then a week, then 2 weeks. I'd call Linda and she'd apologize, say she forgot, say she'd been busy. The money would show up and I'd let it go. Then came the call at the end of my sophomore year. Linda's voice was strained. Emma, honey, we need to talk about next year's tuition. My stomach dropped. What about it? Richard and I have had some unexpected expenses. His parents have had some health issues, and we've been helping them financially. And we're doing some work on the house. The foundation needs repairs. It's going to be tight for a while. Okay, I said slowly, but the trust. I know, and we'll figure it out. But I need you to maybe look into some scholarships or student loans, just to take some of the pressure off. Student loans, but Dad left money specifically so I wouldn't have to. I know what your father wanted, Emma, but life is complicated. Sometimes we have to be flexible. I felt sick, but I didn't push. I applied for every scholarship I could find. I took out $10,000 in student loans for my junior year. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore where I worked part-time. Linda seemed relieved. You're so mature, Emma. Your dad would be so proud of how independent you're becoming. But I wasn't becoming independent. I was being forced into it. My junior year, I barely heard from Linda. She missed my birthday, said she and Richard were on a cruise and she'd lost track of the date. She didn't come to visit. When I went to their house for Christmas, it looked completely different. New furniture. New kitchen with marble countertops and top-of-the-line appliances. A new deck. A hot tub. Wow, I said, looking around. This must have cost. Richard got a huge bonus, Linda said quickly. We decided to invest in the house. I wanted to ask how much the bonus was. I wanted to ask why I was taking out student loans when they were installing a hot tub. But Richard was there, and he was watching me with this look, like he was daring me to say something. So I didn't. That Christmas, Richard's parents finally made an appearance. Margaret and Charles Donovan. Old money, or at least they acted like it. Margaret wore pearls to Christmas dinner. Charles talked about their club and their yacht club friends and made subtle digs about Linda's background. So you were in real estate, Margaret said, making it sound like Linda had been selling drugs. I was, Linda said, her voice tight, before I took time off to care for my late husband. How admirable. They barely acknowledged me. When they did, it was to ask questions designed to make me feel small. State school, Charles said when he found out where I went to college. Well, not everyone is cut out for the Ivy League. I'm studying nursing, I said. How practical, Margaret said, the same way you'd say how unfortunate. I hated them, but more than that, I hated the way Linda acted around them. Smaller, quieter, like she was constantly apologizing for existing. After they left, I found Linda in the kitchen, washing dishes. They're awful, I said. She didn't look at me. They're Richard's parents. They're important to him. They're snobs. Emma, her voice was sharp. You don't understand what it's like to build a life with someone. Sometimes you have to make compromises. Sometimes you have to accept that not everyone is going to be warm and fuzzy. Dad's friends weren't like that. I shouldn't have said it. I knew as soon as the words left my mouth. Linda's face went cold. Your father is dead, Emma. I'm not, and I deserve to be happy. She walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with the dishes. That was the moment I realized Linda wasn't my family anymore. Maybe she never really had been. Which brings me to this morning, my 21st birthday, August 14th. I woke up early before my alarm because I knew the flowers would be coming. Every year, Mrs. Chen delivered them personally, always before 9 a.m. every year. I'd open the door and she'd be standing there with this sad, sweet smile, holding the sunflowers. This year felt different, heavier, because I knew these were the last ones. After today, there would be no more flowers from my dad. No more physical proof that he'd thought about me, planned for me, loved me enough to make sure I'd feel it even after he was gone. The knock came at 8:47 a.m. I opened the door, and there was Mrs. Chen, holding the biggest bouquet I'd ever seen. She must have added extra flowers. Last ones are always special, she said, her eyes watering. Your dad, he was a good man, Emma, the best. I couldn't speak. I just nodded and took the flowers, their yellow petals bright and alive, and I closed the door and sat on my apartment floor and cried for 20 minutes. The card said what it always said. Sunshine for my sunshine, love never ends. But tucked behind it was another card, one I'd never seen before. It was in Mrs. Chen's handwriting. Emma, your father asked me to include this with the final delivery. He wrote it the day he ordered the flowers. With love, Mrs. Chen. I unfolded the small piece of paper with shaking hands. My dad's handwriting, shaky from the chemo but unmistakably his. My beautiful Emma, if you're reading this, it means you're 21, an adult. I wish I could be there to see the woman you've become. I know you're strong. I know you're smart. I know you have a good heart, just like your old man. I also know that life isn't always fair. And I know that people don't always turn out to be who we think they are. If anyone ever makes you feel small, if anyone ever makes you doubt your worth, remember this. You are my daughter. You are everything good I ever did in this world, and you deserve to be treated like the gift you are. Don't let anyone steal your light, not even in my name. I love you forever. I sat on that floor for an hour, holding that note, reading it over and over. It was like he knew. Like he could see the future, see how things would turn out, see that I'd need those words today. At noon, I called Linda. I told her I wanted to come over, that I wanted to spend my birthday with her. "Oh, Emma, I'm so glad you called," she said, and her voice had that fake brightness to it that I'd learned to recognize. "Richard and I actually wanted to talk to you. Can you come around too?" "Sure," I said. "I'll be there." I drove to the house, their house, with my dad's note in my pocket and my phone recording in my purse. I don't know why I started recording. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe some part of me knew that whatever was about to happen, I'd need proof. Linda answered the door in expensive workout clothes, the kind that cost $200 and had never seen an actual gym. She hugged me, but it was brief, performative. "Happy birthday, sweetheart, come in." The house looked even nicer than it had at Christmas. New art on the walls, a new chandelier in the foyer, fresh flowers, roses, not sunflowers, on the entry table. Richard was waiting in the living room, sitting in a leather armchair like a king on a throne. He didn't stand up when I came in. "Emma," he said, nodding. 21, big milestone." "Yeah," I said, sitting on the couch across from them. "Thanks." Linda sat next to Richard, and they exchanged a look. A whole conversation in that look. "So," Linda started, folding her hands in her lap, "we wanted to talk to you about the future." Here it comes, I thought. "You're an adult now," Richard said. 21, legal drinking age, legal everything. And we both think, it's time you really start standing on your own 2 feet financially. "I work," I said. "I'm in school full-time and I work 25 hours a week." "We know," Linda said quickly. "And we're proud of you. But Richard and I have been carrying a lot of your expenses. Your phone bill, your car insurance, we paid off your car last year." "With the trust money," I interrupted. "With my dad's money, that's what it's for." Richard's jaw tightened. "Actually, Emma, let's talk about that, the trust." My heart started pounding. "We've had some unexpected expenses over the past few years," Linda said, not meeting my eyes. "The house needed much more work than we anticipated. Richard's parents have had some serious health issues. Charles had 2 surgeries last year, and their insurance didn't cover everything. We've been helping them." "Okay," I said slowly, "but what does that have to do with?" "We had to borrow from the trust," Richard said flatly. "Temporarily. We'll pay it back, obviously, but for right now, we need to pause your distributions." The room tilted. "Borrow from the trust, my trust." "It's not like you need it right now," Linda said, her voice defensive. "You're working, you have student loans." "I have student loans because you told me to get them." My voice was rising. "You told me the trust was tight, that I needed to take some of the pressure off. And you did, and we appreciate that." "How much?" I asked. My hands were shaking. "How much did you borrow?" Silence. "How much, Linda?" She looked at Richard. He stood up. "That's not really your concern right now," he said, his voice cold. "The important thing is that you're 21, you're an adult. Your father would want you to learn to stand on your own." I stood up too. "Don't you dare tell me what my father would want. You didn't know him. You married my stepmom 2 years after he died, and you've spent every day since then trying to erase every trace of him from this house." "That's not fair," Linda started. "Where's his picture?" I shouted. "Where's the picture that used to be on the mantle? Where's his old armchair? Where's his books? Where's anything that proves he ever existed in this house?" "We moved on, Emma," Richard said. "That's what healthy people do, they move on." "By stealing his daughter's inheritance." "We didn't steal anything," Linda snapped. "I'm the trustee. I have every legal right to manage those funds as I see fit." "To manage them for me, not for you." "We are managing them for you," Richard said. "We're teaching you responsibility. We're teaching you what your father should have taught you, that money doesn't just appear, that you have to work for things." "My father worked himself to death." I was screaming now, tears running down my face. "He worked every day of his life, and he saved every penny so that I wouldn't have to struggle the way he did. And you took it. You took what he died for and you spent it on a hot tub and a BMW and God knows what else. Get out, Richard said. What? Get out of our house. You're being hysterical and disrespectful, and I won't have it. I looked at Linda, waiting for her to say something, anything, waiting for her to defend me, to defend my dad, to be the person who'd promised him she'd take care of me. She looked down at her hands. Linda, I said, my voice breaking, please. I think it's best if you go, she said quietly. Are you serious? We'll talk when you've calmed down, she said, still not looking at me. But Richard's right, you're being disrespectful. We've done everything for you, and this is how you repay us. You've done everything for me. I couldn't breathe. You stole from me. You stole my father's money. Money he saved for my education, my future. It's not theft when I'm the legal trustee, Linda said, and her voice was ice. Maybe you should go read the trust documents before you start throwing accusations around. Maybe you should remember that my father trusted you, I said. He loved you. He thought you'd take care of me. And you betrayed him. You betrayed both of us. Richard stepped toward me. I'm going to ask you one more time to leave. If you don't, I'll call the police. I stared at him, then at Linda. Fine, I said. I'll go, but this isn't over. I walked out of that house. My house. The house where I'd grown up. Where my dad had taught me to ride a bike in the driveway and where we'd had pizza parties in the living room and where he'd died. And I knew I'd never be welcome there again. I got in my car, drove 2 blocks, pulled over, and threw up in a gas station parking lot. Then I went home and started making a plan. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table in my tiny studio apartment, 550 square feet, $800 a month that I paid with my bookstore wages, and I pulled out every piece of paper my dad had ever given me related to the trust. My dad had been meticulous. He'd kept copies of everything. When I turned 18, right before I left for college, he'd sat me down. This was just 2 months before he died, when he could barely sit up without help, and he'd gone through everything with me. This is the life insurance policy, he'd said, his voice weak. It'll pay out $340,000. That's after taxes, after everything. It's all going into a trust for you. Linda will be the trustee until you're 25. She'll use it to pay for your college, your living expenses, anything you need. When you turn 25, whatever is left becomes yours, free and clear. Why 25? I'd asked. He'd smiled, because by 25, you'll know who you are, you'll know what you want, and you'll be old enough to handle money responsibly. I trust Linda to take care of you until then. She loves you, Em. She'll do right by you. I'd believed him, because he'd believed it, because Linda had been there, holding his hand, promising him she'd take care of me. Now, sitting at my table at 2 a.m., I read through the trust documents for the first time as an adult. Really read them. The trust was simple. $340,000 principal. Linda, as trustee, was authorized to distribute funds for my health, education, maintenance, and support. That was the exact language. She had broad discretion, but there was one critical clause on page 7, paragraph 3. The trustee shall keep accurate records of all distributions and shall provide an accounting to the beneficiary upon written request. The trustee shall act in the best interests of the beneficiary at all times and shall not use trust funds for the benefit of the trustee or any third party. I read it 3 times. She shall not use trust funds for the benefit of the trustee or any third party. I pulled out my laptop and started going through my bank records. Every deposit Linda had made to my account for the past 4 years I documented. Tuition payments, rent, car insurance, my car payoff, books, medical expenses. I added it up. 4 years of college, $8,000 per semester, 8 semesters, $64,000. Rent, $1,200 per month for 36 months. She'd stopped paying regularly after that. $43,200. Car insurance, roughly $100 per month for 48 months. $4,800. The car payoff, $12,000. Random expenses, books, my laptop, medical bills, maybe another $10,000. Total, approximately $134,000. The trust had started with $340,000. Even accounting for taxes on the insurance payout, figure another $20,000. There should have been at least $180,000 left. But Linda had said they'd borrowed from it. She hadn't said how much. I needed to see the trust bank statements. At 9 a.m., I called the law firm that had set up the trust, Morrison and Associates. The lawyer who drafted it, Mr. Morrison, had died 2 years earlier, but his daughter had taken over the practice. Morrison Law, this is Jennifer. Hi, my name is Emma Carter. My father, David Carter, set up a trust through your office about 5 years ago. I'm the beneficiary. I need to request an accounting. Okay, let me pull up the file. Carter, here it is. Yes, I see you're listed as beneficiary. You're entitled to request an accounting once per year. Have you requested one before? No. Okay, I'll send a request to the trustee. That's Linda Carter. Yes. She'll have 30 days to provide a full accounting. We'll send her the formal request today. Thank you. I hung up and waited. 3 hours later, Linda called me. She was furious. You requested a formal accounting. Are you kidding me right now? I'm entitled to it, I said calmly. It's in the trust documents. You're unbelievable, after everything we've done for you. Then the accounting should be simple, I said. If you've been managing the trust appropriately, you'll have records. You'll send them over and this will all be cleared up. This is about yesterday, isn't it? You're punishing me because we had a difficult conversation. This is about me wanting to know where my father's money went, I said. That's all. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want to see the records. Silence. Fine, she said finally. You want to see records, you'll get records. She hung up. 4 weeks later, I received a manila envelope via certified mail. Inside was a 30-page document, bank statements for the trust account, a spreadsheet of distributions. I sat down and went through it line by line. The trust had indeed started with $318,000 after taxes and legal fees. Linda had kept good records for the first 2 years. Every distribution was documented. Tuition payments, rent deposits to my account, car insurance payments. Then, at the beginning of year 3, the distributions changed. There was a withdrawal of $85,000, labeled Home Repairs Beneficiary Living Expenses. I'd never lived in that house except for brief visits. Those weren't repairs for my benefit. Another withdrawal, $60,000, Vehicle Purchase Beneficiary Transportation. I'd never received a $60,000 vehicle. I drove a 2015 Honda Civic that my dad had bought used for $12,000. Another $40,000, educational equipment and materials. $40,000 for educational equipment, for nursing school. I kept reading, smaller withdrawals, $15,000 here, $8,000 there, all labeled vaguely. Beneficiary support, living expenses, educational costs. I got to the last page, the current balance of the trust account, $18,247. Out of $318,000, there was $18,247 left. I did the math. She distributed approximately $130,000 to me, the number I'd calculated. The rest, nearly $170,000, she'd taken for herself. I sat there, staring at that number, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My dad had worked his entire life for this. He'd paid into that insurance policy for 16 years, $200 every single month, money we often couldn't afford. I remembered him saying no to things, no to new shoes for himself, no to fixing the air conditioning one brutal summer, no to a vacation we'd planned, because he had to make that insurance payment. It's for your future, Em, he'd say. No matter what happens to me, you'll be taken care of. And Linda had stolen it. She'd stolen his sacrifice. She'd stolen my future. I picked up my phone. I needed a lawyer. I found a lawyer through a friend's recommendation. His name was Marcus Webb, and he specialized in trust litigation. His consultation fee was $400, money I didn't have but charged to my credit card anyway. His office was small, cluttered with law books and file boxes. He was in his late 50s, black, with gray in his beard and sharp, intelligent eyes. I showed him everything, the trust documents, the accounting Linda had provided, my own records of what I'd actually received. He read through it all in silence, then he looked up at me. "She's stolen from you," he said flatly. "This is textbook breach of fiduciary duty. These withdrawals, the $85,000 for home repairs, the $60,000 vehicle purchase, there's no way these were for your benefit." And she documented them in a way that's technically vague enough to give her deniability, but any judge will see right through it. "Can we sue her?" "Yes, and you should. But I need to be honest with you, trust litigation is expensive. We're talking $20,000 to $30,000 in legal fees, and that's if it doesn't go to trial. If it does, double that." I felt sick. I don't have that kind of money. "I know, but here's the thing, you might not need to sue. Not yet. There's a provision in the trust documents that gives you another option." He flipped to page 9, pointed to a paragraph I'd read but hadn't fully understood. "This says that if you believe the trustee is mismanaging the trust, you can petition the court to remove them and appoint a new trustee, or in your case, since you're 21, you can petition to dissolve the trust early and take control of the remaining funds. It's a much simpler process. A few $1,000s in legal fees, max. But there's only $18,000 left." "Right, but once you control the trust, you can then sue Linda personally for the money she took. And here's the key, she'll have to pay your legal fees if you win. It's in the trust documents. If a beneficiary has to take legal action due to trustee misconduct, the trustee is liable for all costs." I stared at him. "So I can get the money back?" "Most of it, probably. She might not have it anymore, sounds like she spent it. But we can get a judgment against her, put a lien on her house, garnish wages, whatever we need to do. She'll pay, one way or another." "How long will it take?" "To dissolve the trust, maybe 8 weeks. To sue for the money, could be a year, could be longer. But Emma, I need to tell you something. This is going to get ugly. This is your stepmother. This is going to destroy whatever relationship you have left." "There's nothing left to destroy," I said. He nodded slowly. "Okay then, let's do it." We filed the petition the next day. In it, we laid out Linda's mismanagement. We attached the accounting she'd provided. We provided my own accounting of what I'd actually received. We requested immediate removal of Linda as trustee and dissolution of the trust. The court date was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, I did something else. Something that felt petty and vindictive, but also deeply, profoundly necessary. My dad had also left a pension, a small teacher's pension through the state. It paid out $1,100 per month to his surviving dependents. Linda, as his widow, had been collecting it, but I was also a surviving dependent, and I was entitled to half of it, $550 per month, until I turned 25. Linda had never told me about this. I found out about it by accident, going through my dad's old files. There was a letter from the pension board, sent a month after he died, explaining the benefits. I called the pension board. "Yes, Ms. Carter, you're listed as a dependent. You're entitled to 50% of the monthly benefit." "I've never received anything." "Let me check. It looks like the full amount has been going to Linda Carter. That's not correct. I'll adjust it immediately. You'll start receiving your portion next month, and we'll calculate the back pay you're owed for the past 4 years." "How much is that?" "Let's see, $550 per month for 48 months. That's $26,400. We'll issue that as a lump sum within 30 days. I almost laughed. It wasn't the $170,000 Linda had stolen, but it was something. "Thank you," I said. When Linda found out, and she found out quickly because her pension payment was cut in half, she lost her mind. She called me screaming, actually screaming. I'd never heard her like that. What the hell did you do? I claimed my portion of Dad's pension, I said calmly. I'm legally entitled to it. You've been collecting my share for 4 years. That money was keeping us afloat. Do you have any idea what you've done? I have an idea, yeah. You've been living off my dad's pension while spending my inheritance. That's over now. You vindictive little bitch. I'm hanging up now. If you want to talk to me, you can do it through my lawyer. I hung up. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. You're going to regret this. I saved the screenshot, added it to my file. 3 days later, my lawyer called me. Emma, Linda's attorney, reached out. They want to settle. Already? Yeah, I think they know they're screwed. They're offering to pay back $50,000 and resign as trustee. That's less than a third of what she took. I know. I told them no, but I wanted you to be aware. They're scared. Good, I said. The court hearing was on a Wednesday morning. I took the day off work, put on the only professional outfit I owned, a black pantsuit I'd bought at Target for my dad's funeral and hadn't worn since, and met Marcus at the courthouse. Linda was there with her attorney, a slick-looking guy in an expensive suit. Richard was with her, wearing sunglasses inside like he was in a mob movie. Linda wouldn't look at me. The judge was a woman in her 60s, gray hair, no-nonsense expression. She reviewed the petition in silence, then looked up. Ms. Carter, Linda Carter, you're the trustee of this trust. Yes, Your Honor, Linda said, her voice small. And you've provided an accounting showing that, of the original $318,000, only $18,247 remains. Yes, Your Honor, but I can explain. I'm sure you can. I've reviewed the distributions. An $85,000 home repair expense, a $60,000 vehicle purchase, and the beneficiary is a college student living in a studio apartment who drives a 2015 Honda Civic. Linda's attorney stood up. Your Honor, my client acted in good faith. She interpreted the trust language broadly to include. Your client interpreted the trust language to benefit herself, the judge said. These expenditures have nothing to do with the beneficiary's health, education, maintenance, or support. This is textbook self-dealing. Your Honor, if we could have time to. No, I'm ruling from the bench. Linda Carter is removed as trustee effective immediately. The trust is dissolved. The remaining funds will be transferred to Emma Carter within 5 business days. Ms. Carter, you're free to pursue civil action for recovery of the misappropriated funds. This court finds probable cause for breach of fiduciary duty. Next case. It was over in 10 minutes. Linda burst into tears. Richard put his arm around her. Her attorney looked annoyed. I walked out of that courtroom with my head high and Marcus grinning beside me. That, he said, is the fastest I've ever seen a trust case resolved. The judge hated her. What happens now? Now we sue her for the $170,000. We file next week. And Emma, we're going to win. The lawsuit was filed 10 days later. We sued Linda personally for $169,753, the exact amount she'd taken, minus what I'd received. We also sued for the $26,400 in pension payments she'd collected that should have gone to me, plus interest, plus legal fees. Total, $207,000. Linda and Richard's response was swift and vicious. First, they stopped communicating with me entirely. Linda blocked my number. Richard blocked me on every social media platform. Fine, I didn't want to talk to them anyway. But then things escalated. 2 weeks after we filed the lawsuit, my mom, my biological mom, who I hadn't heard from in over a decade, called me. Emma, it's Mom. I almost hung up. What do you want? I heard about what you're doing to Linda. Honey, this isn't right. She took care of you after your dad died. She doesn't deserve this. How did you even? Did Linda call you? She reached out. She's devastated. She said you're suing her for money that was spent taking care of you. That's a lie. She stole from me. Emma, families don't sue each other. Your father would be ashamed. That was it. That was the line. You don't get to tell me what my father would think, I said, my voice shaking. You left us. You walked out when I was 8 and you never came back. You don't get an opinion on this. I'm still your mother. No, you're not. You're a stranger who shares my DNA. Don't call me again. I hung up and blocked her number. But it didn't stop. Linda was making calls to my dad's old friends, to extended family members I barely knew, to anyone who would listen. Her story was simple. I was a spoiled, ungrateful child who was suing my poor stepmother for money she'd spent taking care of me. She'd sacrificed everything to raise me after my dad died, and this was how I repaid her. Some people believed her. I started getting Facebook messages from distant cousins, people I hadn't seen in years, telling me I should be ashamed. That family is supposed to stick together, that my dad would be disappointed. It hurt. I won't lie, it hurt. But then something happened that changed everything. I got a call from Tom Hendricks, my dad's best friend, the man who'd driven my dad to the florist to order my birthday flowers. Emma, I need to talk to you. Can we meet for coffee? We met at a diner. Tom was in his 50s, a mechanic, rough around the edges but with a kind face. He'd been at my dad's bedside when he died. He'd spoken at the funeral. He sat down across from me, and he looked angry. I've been hearing things, he said, about you suing Linda, and I've been hearing Linda's version of events, but I want to hear yours. So I told him everything. The trust, the money, the accounting, the lawsuit. When I finished, Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Your dad knew. What? Your dad, when he was dying, he knew Linda wasn't who he thought she was. He never said it directly, but I could tell. Those last few weeks, he kept asking me to promise I'd look out for you. He made me swear that if you ever needed help, I'd be there. He said, If something doesn't feel right, Tom, I need you to believe Emma, not Linda, Emma. My eyes filled with tears. I should have checked on you more, Tom said, his voice rough. After your dad died, I got busy with my own life, and I assumed Linda was taking care of you the way she promised. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Yeah, it is, but I'm going to fix it now. Whatever you need, I'm here. And Emma, there are other people, other friends of your dad, people who knew him, who loved him. They need to hear the truth. Linda's already talked to them. Let me handle that. Your dad was a teacher. He taught hundreds of kids. He had friends all over this town. Linda's got some people on her side, but she doesn't have everyone. Trust me. Tom was right. Over the next 2 weeks, he quietly reached out to my dad's old colleagues, his friends, people who'd known him for decades. He told them the truth, showed them copies of the trust documents I'd given him, the accounting, the evidence. The tide started to turn. One of my dad's former students, now a journalist for the local paper, called me. Emma, it's Sarah Mitchell. I don't know if you remember me. Your dad taught me sophomore history 15 years ago. Tom told me what's happening. I want to write about it. I don't know if that's a good idea. Your dad changed my life. I was failing school, headed down a bad path, and he stayed after class every day for a month to tutor me. He didn't give up on me. I owe him. And if someone stole from his daughter, people need to know. Linda will destroy me if. Linda can't destroy the truth. Let me tell your story. I thought about it. I thought about my dad's note. Don't let anyone steal your light. Okay, I said, let's do it. The article ran 2 weeks later. Front page of the local section. Local woman sues stepmother for misappropriation of late father's life insurance trust. Sarah had done her homework. She'd interviewed Tom. She'd talked to Marcus, my lawyer, who confirmed the basic facts of the case. She'd even gotten a quote from the judge who dissolved the trust. The evidence showed clear mismanagement inconsistent with the beneficiary's interests. The article was fair but damning. It laid out the numbers. It told my dad's story, the teacher who'd saved for 16 years to make sure his daughter would be okay. It told how Linda had been entrusted with that money and had spent it on herself. Linda's response was nuclear. 3 days after the article ran, a different article appeared. This one in a smaller online news site. The headline, Ungrateful stepdaughter sues mother who raised her, demands money for drug habit. I couldn't breathe when I read it. The article, which was barely fact-checked, clearly claimed that Linda had taken in her stepdaughter after her husband died, raising her as her own. It said I'd developed a drug problem in college and that Linda had used trust funds to pay for multiple rehab stays. It said I was now suing her for money to fund my addiction. Every single word was a lie. I'd never done drugs. I'd never been to rehab. I barely drank. But there it was online, with Linda's name attached as a source. I called Marcus, sobbing. They're lying. They're lying about me, and now everyone's going to think. Emma, breathe. Listen to me. This is defamation, clear, actionable defamation. We're adding it to the lawsuit. And this is going to cost them. But people are going to believe it. People who know you won't believe it. And people who don't know you don't matter. Focus on what we can control. We're going to bury them in court. He was right, but it didn't stop the damage. The article spread online. I started getting messages on social media from strangers, some supportive, some vicious. Gold digger. Junkie. Your stepmom is a saint and you're trash. I deleted my social media accounts, all of them. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop, because Linda had crossed a line. She'd lied about me publicly, tried to destroy my reputation, all to cover up what she'd done. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one. 2 months after the lawsuit was filed, Linda called me. Not from her number, from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Emma, please don't hang up, it's Linda. I stayed silent. I know you're angry, I know you feel like I betrayed you, but can we talk, just the two of us? No lawyers, no Richard, just us. Why would I do that? Because I want to make this right. I want to explain. I want you to understand what happened, why I made the choices I made. Please, for your dad's sake. For your dad's sake. She knew exactly what to say. Fine, when? Can you come to the house? Tomorrow evening. Richard will be out of town. Every instinct told me not to go, but I wanted to hear what she had to say. I wanted to look her in the eye. I'll be there at 7, I said. I called Marcus immediately after. Don't go, he said. It's a trap. I know, but I'm going anyway, and I'm recording it. Emma. She defamed me. She lied about me in print. If she says anything, incriminating tomorrow, I want it on record. Marcus sighed. Fine, but be careful, and send me the recording as soon as you're done. The next evening, I drove to the house. The for sale sign was still in the yard, faded and weathered. The house looked tired, like it was aging in fast forward. Linda answered the door. She looked different. Older. Her hair had more gray. She'd lost weight. She looked like what she was, a woman who'd been caught and knew it. Emma, thank you for coming. I followed her inside. The house was quieter than I'd ever heard it. No music, no TV, just silence. We sat in the living room. I kept my purse on my lap, my phone recording inside it. I'm sorry, Linda said. I need to start with that. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for how things got so out of control. Out of control. Is that what you call stealing $170,000? She flinched. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. When your dad died, I was drowning, in grief, in bills, in everything. Richard came along and he seemed like a lifeline. He made me feel safe, stable. But his lifestyle, his parents, their expectations, it was so much pressure. I started spending money to keep up, to fit into his world. And I told myself I'd pay it back. I told myself it was temporary. You could have talked to me. You could have been honest. I know. I was ashamed. And then it just got bigger and bigger, and I didn't know how to stop. You didn't stop, I said. You kept going, and when I found out, you lied about me. You told that website I was a drug addict. Her face crumpled. That wasn't me, that was Richard. He was trying to protect me. He thought if he discredited you, the lawsuit would go away. You let him do it. You didn't stop him. You didn't defend me. I know, she was crying now. I know, and I hate myself for it. Emma, you have to understand, I loved your father, I really did. And I loved you, I still do. but I made terrible choices and I don't know how to fix them. You can start by settling the lawsuit. Pay back what you took. We don't have it, Emma. The house is underwater. Richard's business is failing. We're going to lose everything. Then you should have thought about that before you spent my college fund on a hot tub. She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Something cold. You really are your father's daughter, she said. Righteous, unforgiving. He was like that too, you know, always so sure he was right, always so moral. My dad was a good man. Your dad was a naive man who thought the world was fair. It's not, Emma. Life isn't fair. Sometimes you have to take what you need to survive. You weren't surviving. You were thriving on money that wasn't yours. She stood up. I think you should go. Yeah, I said, standing. I think so too. I walked to the door, then turned back. One more thing, Linda. When this goes to trial and you lose, and you have to sell this house and everything in it, I want you to remember something. My dad trusted you. He trusted you with everything he had, and you destroyed that trust for granite countertops and a BMW. Get out. I left, got in my car, drove 2 blocks, pulled over, and sent the recording to Marcus. He called me 5 minutes later. Emma, this is gold. She admitted to everything. The spending, the lying, Richard's involvement in the defamation. This case just became a slam dunk. Good, I said. I want her to lose everything. She will, Marcus said. Trust me, she will. The trial was scheduled for early December, but before it could happen, something unexpected occurred. Richard's parents, Margaret and Charles, were throwing their annual Christmas party, a massive event at their country club. Everyone who was anyone in their social circle would be there. I knew about it because Sarah, the journalist, had mentioned it. Linda and Richard are going, she'd said. Apparently they're trying to keep up appearances, pretend everything's fine. An idea formed in my head. A terrible, vindictive, absolutely necessary idea. Sarah, I said, how hard would it be to get into that party? She grinned. You want to crash it? I want to make a point. I love it. Give me 2 days. Sarah had connections. Her paper covered society events. She got herself on the guest list as press, and she got me in as her assistant. The party was on December 20th. I bought a dress at a thrift store, black, simple, elegant. I printed out copies of the trust accounting, the bank statements, the court order removing Linda as trustee, the defamatory article with Richard named as the source, every piece of evidence organized into neat folders. I made 50 copies. Sarah and I arrived at 8 p.m. The party was exactly what I'd expected. Chandeliers, champagne, people in expensive clothes talking about expensive things. Linda and Richard were there, standing near the bar with Margaret and Charles. Linda wore a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She was laughing, glass of wine in hand, playing the part of the perfect society wife. I waited, watched, timed it perfectly. At 9 p.m., Margaret stood up to make a toast. Everyone gathered around. She talked about family, about tradition, about how blessed they were. When she finished, I stepped forward. I'd like to say something, I said loudly. The room went quiet. Margaret looked annoyed. I'm sorry, who are you? I'm Emma Carter, Linda's stepdaughter. Linda's face went white. Richard grabbed her arm. I just wanted to thank Linda publicly, I continued, my voice steady, for everything she's done for me, for taking my father's $340,000 life insurance trust and spending $170,000 of it on herself, for this house, for your cars, for your vacations. My dad died when I was 16, and Linda was supposed to take care of me. Instead, she stole from me. Get her out of here, Charles said to security. Wait, I said, holding up the folders. I brought proof, bank statements, court documents, everything. I thought your guests might want to see what their friends have been up to. I started handing out folders to everyone. Some people took them reluctantly. Others grabbed them eagerly, sensing drama. This is insane, Richard said. She's lying. Am I? I turned to face him. Because here's a court order removing Linda as trustee for mismanagement. Here's an accounting showing exactly where the money went. $85,000 for your home renovation, $60,000 for your car, $40,000 for a boat you sold 6 months later. People were reading now, flipping through pages, murmuring. And here, I said, pulling out another document, is an article published online claiming I'm a drug addict. It cites Richard Donovan as the source. That's you, right, Richard? You told a reporter I was in rehab to cover up the fact that you and Linda stole from a dead man's daughter. Margaret snatched the paper from a guest's hand, read it, and turned to Richard with a look of pure horror. You did this, she whispered. Mother, it's not. You lied about a girl whose father died. You stole from her, and you brought this into our family. We can explain, Linda started. No, I said. You can't, because there's no explanation that makes this okay. You stole from me. You lied about me. You tried to destroy me to cover up what you did. And now everyone here knows exactly who you are. The room was silent. Every eye was on Linda and Richard. I want you out, Margaret said, her voice shaking. Out of this party, out of our family. Charles, call our attorney. We're cutting them off, completely. Mother, please. Don't, Charles said. Just leave now. Linda and Richard left, and the room erupted in whispers as they walked out, Linda's face streaked with tears, Richard's jaw clenched in fury. I turned to the room. I'm sorry for disrupting your evening, I said, but I wanted you all to know the truth, because these people have been lying to you just like they lied to me, and they deserve to be exposed. I walked out, Sarah following me, her phone recording the whole thing. When we got to the parking lot, I started shaking. Sarah put her arm around me. That, she said, was the most badass thing I've ever seen. I think I'm going to throw up, I said. Do it in the bushes. That dress is too nice to ruin. I laughed, actually laughed, and then I cried, and then I laughed again. The video Sarah took went viral. Not huge, but big enough. Local news picked it up. Woman confronts stepmother at party over stolen inheritance. It had 200,000 views in 3 days. The public pressure was immense. Linda and Richard's attorney called Marcus a week later. They want to settle. For how much? Full amount, $207,000, plus a public apology, plus they'll pay your legal fees. I couldn't believe it. Why now? Margaret and Charles cut them off completely. Richard lost his job. His parents had gotten it for him at their friend's firm. The house is in foreclosure. They're desperate. They need this to go away. And if I say no? We go to trial in January. We'll probably win, but it'll take years to collect. They don't have the money now. How will they pay the settlement? They're selling everything. The house, the cars, Linda's jewelry. They'll be bankrupt, but they'll pay you. I thought about it. I thought about my dad, about what he would want. I want one more thing, I said. What? I want Linda to admit, in writing, exactly what she did. I want her to sign a statement saying she misappropriated trust funds, that she lied about me, all of it. And I want it notarized. So if she ever tries to lie about this again, I have proof. Done. I'll add it to the settlement terms. The settlement was finalized 3 weeks later. Linda signed the statement. She and Richard liquidated everything. I received $207,000 in installments over 6 months. It wasn't everything. It wasn't justice, not really, but it was something. The last payment came through in June, a month before what would have been my dad's 54th birthday. I used part of the money to finish nursing school debt-free. I put the rest in savings. I bought myself a small condo, nothing fancy, but mine. And on my 22nd birthday, I went to Sunshine Blooms and I ordered my own sunflowers. A subscription, just like my dad had done. 1 bouquet every August 14th for the next 10 years. For yourself, Mrs. Chen asked, smiling. For myself, I said, because I learned something this year. Love doesn't end, but sometimes you have to be the one who loves you. It's been a year since the settlement. Linda and Richard moved to another state. I heard they're renting a small apartment, both working retail jobs. Richard's parents disowned them completely. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel vindicated or triumphant. Mostly, I just feel sad. Sad that it came to this. Sad that the woman my father trusted turned out to be someone completely different. But I also feel something else. I feel free. Because I learned that family isn't about blood or obligation or who raised you. Family is about who shows up, who keeps their promises, who loves you not because they have to, but because they choose to. Tom still calls me once a week, just to check in. Sarah and I get coffee every month. My dad's former students, people I barely knew, reached out to offer support. One of them, a lawyer, is helping me set up a scholarship fund in my dad's name for kids who have lost parents. That's my family now. People who choose to love me. People who earn my trust and keep it. As for Linda, I haven't spoken to her since the settlement. She sent me a letter once a few months ago. I didn't read it. I gave it to Marcus, who filed it away with the rest of the case documents. Maybe someday I'll be ready to read it. Maybe someday I'll be ready to forgive her, really forgive her. But not today. Today, I'm sitting in my condo, in the sunlight, looking at the sunflowers I bought myself. And I'm thinking about my dad, about his note. Don't let anyone steal your light. I didn't, Dad. I fought for it. I protected it. And I'm still here, still standing, still shining. I think you'd be proud. Setting boundaries with the people you love most is the hardest thing in the world. When it's family, when it's someone who's supposed to protect you, choosing to stand up for yourself can feel like betrayal. But sometimes, it's the only way to save yourself. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let someone keep hurting you. If you've ever had to set a difficult financial boundary with family after a betrayal, if you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting yourself, I want to hear your story. How did you find the courage? What did it cost you? And looking back, would you make the same choice? Share your story in the comments, because you're not alone. And sometimes, knowing someone else survived this helps you believe you will too. Thank you for listening to mine.